Salafalava, and welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. This is the second to last installment of a special podcast series we have been running during the month of May, celebrating Pacifica Women. On today's show, we have a very special guest. She is a Tahitian clothing designer based here in Japan. Aside from designing custom-made pieces, you can also find her designing costumes for Tahitian dance groups. I'm really excited to have her here because I want to learn about her creative process, people that have influenced her designs, and just where she gets her inspiration from. It is my honor to welcome to the show Tuatini Manate. Woohoo! Maeva, welcome. How are you, sis? How are you?
Hello, Orana.
Orana.
I'm so happy to be here today. So I would like to thank you for giving me the honor to be here and talk about my life, my work.
So before we get into our talanoa, I like to ask our guests to do a brief introduction. So if you can go ahead.
Orana, I am Tuatini. I'm 26 years old. I was born and raised in Tahiti, and I am a Tahitian clothing designer and a costume maker. I've been living in Japan now for like 4 years.
Thank you so much for
Thank
that
you.
introduction. I really appreciate you. And I appreciate your time to be here. I know you are busy, sis. I know you're busy. So the first question I have is about your journey in fashion and designing. Like, where does that love for fashion come from?
As far as I remember, I started to like fashion and like aesthetic when I was growing up. When I was little, I used to watch like anime shows, anything about fairies, and I really liked. There was this show on TV that I used to watch every day before going to school, and they had this nice outfit. So yeah, I think it all started here. So when I went to school, instead of listening to the teachers, I was always drawing what I was seeing in TV, trying to draw them new outfits. I think it all started there.
On one hand, you were drawing, but when did you actually start to tell yourself, hey, I think I can make this? I think I can actually make this costume, this
Yeah.
design.
Actually, it came really late, huh?
Mm.
Because I started drawing when I was in maybe primary school, but after that, going to high school, I still love drawings. I mean, all about fashion, huh? I don't draw just for fun. I always liked to draw back then, dresses. It was always feminine clothing. So I was, even in high school, I didn't know how to use a sewing machine, or I didn't know anything about the steps of creating, but yeah, I think deep inside of me, I always knew that someday I would end up doing it myself. But as growing up, I didn't really have the choice to choose a fashion
Like,
way. I mean,
yeah,
a school program. I didn't have the choice, so I only followed what my parents wanted
the
me to do.
traditional,
Yeah,
traditional.
the normal way, I would say. But I think it was still inside of me. I kept drawing even in high school and at the university also. I kept drawing. But s- it all started when I was in university. I mean at college. So I think because I was mature enough to choose my life now, so I decided to stop in the middle of the year, and I told my parents I want to learn how to sew.
Wow.
That's how it started.
Oh, you know, did your mum sew or did you have aunties? Like, of course you're drawing and designing, but where did you see around you, like, in Tahiti, everyone, there's so many dancing, beautiful cultural dances. So were you interested when you'd see their costumes and go, "Oh, there's an idea for a
Oh,
design," or you know?
yes, I think it's all related. So
Mm,
I think in my family, no one do fashion. No,
mm,
so I was not inspired by my surroundings.
mm.
But but sometimes my sister used to make some like cushion cover, or of course
Ah,
it was, I mean, simple sewing. I always liked it anyway, even if it's simple. But
mm,
and how to say, I think that the dance itself didn't inspire me to choose that
mm,
path. It's mostly, I think I've always been drawn to feminine clothing anyway, so
mm,
I couldn't really tie, I mean, I couldn't really choose a particular moment with maybe decided to like fashion or not. I think it's just
mm,
a whole process, and yeah, I
mm.
think I just like beauty itself.
Yeah. And then for your own taste in clothing, you know, you said when you went to college, that's when you knew you were mature to take your own path. But it made me think, oh, I wonder what Tuatini's style of dress was like at that time.
Actually, actually that's a good question, because yeah, I think also what made me wanted to learn how to sew, it's mostly because the clothing I wanted to wear at
Ah,
that time, I couldn't find it in shops or wherever in Tahiti, because we don't have
mm,
much choice in terms of fashion in Tahiti.
oh.
So I think it really motivated me to learn how to sew. By the way, when I started sewing, I only made outfit for me.
Of course, sis. Of
Of course,
course.
yeah, I started making outfits for me, and I I kind of I kind of find myself into a trap when I started sewing, because
Mm,
first I was doing it for myself, but then, I mean, I got good enough really fast to make my own things. I think because I always knew
mm,
it was part of me, so it was easy to improve myself into the field.
mm.
So yeah, not long time ago, after I learned how to sew, I already got people asking, "Oh, can you make me a dress?" And I was, "Oh, yes, sure." But after that, it didn't stop, and I got
Yeah.
more, and I didn't have time to make for myself anymore. But of course, I couldn't say no to orders, because I have to pay to
Yes.
buy myself fabrics, right?
That I love that. I
But
love
I
that.
think overall there was different factors
Mm,
that made me, that really motivated me to learn.
mm,
For example, um, before I started learning how to sew, I was dancing for Tahitian dance. Huh? I was going, and you know, when we prepare for the big festival that we have in July for the Heiwai Tahiti,
mm,
when we prepare for the Heiwai Tahiti, we with the group we have to make our costume. I mean, it depends on in which group you dance, but the groups I was dancing with, we have to make our own costumes. And of course, the designer of the group, they prepare the costume, and they show you the sample. And as a dancer, you have to remake the costume. I think it all started there. Or I mean, it didn't start there, but it really helped me to really understand that I really wanna do this actually. I love to play with natural materials like
mm, 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 mm,
dry leaf or shells. It was really it was really inspiring for me.
Mm.
So I was happy to do this at that time, and
Mm.
yeah, it it brings me a lot of knowledge
Mm.
also. It brings me an extra knowledge about
Mm.
creativity. Yeah.
You know, once you knew that you could make anything really, any design that your heart wanted to make, were there any, like, besides what you saw on TV, like, where else was your inspiration or influence coming from? For example, were you looking at magazines, or maybe when tourists come to your country, were you looking at the types of clothes and fashion that they had? Like, yeah.
Actually, it's very. Let me explain. When I grew up, I didn't have much culture.
Mm,
I didn't know anything about brands or fashion designer. I didn't know anything about that. So my knowledge was really superficial.
mm,
I was really only I was only influenced by what I saw. I didn't know any historical fact about culture house or
mm,
fashion designer. I really didn't have much culture at that time because, yeah, as I told you, my surrounding, my family nothing, has no interest in fashion. So
mm,
I was really like different in my family. Even
mm,
even about dancing, I was the only one in my whole family to not to dance.
mm.
So yeah, I to be honest, I really don't know where I
Inspiration, or
yeah, I don't know. I couldn't really tell now, but only the only thing I can remember is me watching TV every morning before going to
mm,
school and watching this cartoon about
mm.
fairies and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fast forward to 2024. Um, how much, I mean, you've been living in Japan for around 4 years. Like, how much has your creativity or your design, how much has that grown since you came from Tahiti? Do you think, because now, like in Tokyo or in Japan, just the fashion is so, like,
It's very
yeah,
different.
so how what has it been like for you living here and seeing all this different type of fashion? Like, yeah.
I think me being in Japan, it really influenced my personal style,
Mm,
my own style. But for my work, I think because I'm selling Tahiti in my work,
mm,
I'm not I'm not selling Japan, I'm not selling France, I'm really selling Tahiti. So I think it's I cannot really change what I was already doing before because I
mm,
have to sell what we have in Tahiti. But maybe sometimes, I think unconsciously, it it made me change the shape of what I'm
mm,
doing. Maybe I have new shapes coming in my mind, and I think I went from, back in Tahiti, I went from something compared to Tahiti before. I think I went from something like a resort dress or casual dress to something more elevated
mm,
now today. I think so.
mm,
But yeah, it's more my personal style that really changed. My personal style and my just myself, I guess.
mm,
I felt more free and more safe
mm,
to to be myself also, to yeah to to just know more about me. And that's
Mm.
why I think Japan changed myself more than my work.
Yeah. Okay, okay. That wow, interesting. I mean, have you have you felt coming from Tahiti um to Japan, do you feel safe? Everyone talks about Japan is safe. It's a safe place to live. And have you noticed that? Like, or not really?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons that made me want to stay in Japan.
mm,
I mean, it's one of the biggest reasons that I really feel good here and feel safe.
mm.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's crazy to say that coming from Tahiti,
Right.
but definitely because I think people think about Tahiti as a paradise
Mm,
or I mean like a peaceful place, but even me growing up in Tahiti my whole life, born and raised in Tahiti,
mm,
I can really feel the difference living in Japan. I feel so safe in Japan.
mm. What do you like about Japan? Because I know you've had some opportunities to visit different places in Japan and travel, you must enjoy the travel in Japan?
Bye bye. I think growing up in
Mm,
Tahiti, I already have the countryside
mm,
vision. I mean, so that's why I think being in Japan, my heart goes to Tokyo. I mean, it's
mm.
really Tokyo that I enjoy. I mean,
Yeah.
the big city. So yeah, I'm not. It, for me, it's the opposite way compared to most of people. For people, they like to go
Mm.
countryside or I mean, to a more peaceful place. But for myself, I prefer to be in busy places.
Eh? I'm opposite to you. I like, uh, quiet country,
Peaceful?
peaceful. I like the inaka, like countryside Japan. I mean, of course, the cities are, it's nice to go to, like with Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, toka, like, but
Yeah, it was
yeah,
nice.
right?
I visited there too. It's
Yeah.
okay. I like it. But I cannot go more outside.
You love Tokyo. You love Tokyo, right? You love Tokyo.
Yes, I really love Tokyo.
I remember that's where I met you. I actually, when you were talking about, Tahiti, you are selling Tahiti, and that part of your culture and the beauty of the designs and dress. Um, it reminded me that's where I met you, and I was so amazed at your the pieces, the designs you had put together, um, for your group that were there to perform. I was really like, wow, you
Yeah,
do
I
this in
remember that
Japan? I was like,
happened.
you do this in Japan? What? This is amazing. And I think what made it even more, why I was so even more amazed was it wasn't just the costume. Of course, the costume, the makeup, but the accessories. The accessories finished the costume. Like it was, yeah. Wow.
Thank you.
Just like, and that was my first time going to, like, seeing like Tahitian dance, seeing a
Even
mixture of Pacific Island dance like that. It was awesome. Accessories. Do you also make accessories when you have an opportunity, or that's not so much what you do?
I think it's more like on the optional side.
Mm,
Usually, what I like to do is making dresses. It's really my favorite field. I mean, my favorite
mm,
thing to do. But when I came to Japan, I think people needed to have Tahitian costume dance. So, and I already did this before, but it was
mm,
not my favorite thing to do, but I
mm,
had to do it. So, of course, I did it. And
mm,
and it's one of the most important part in my work now, making
Mm,
costumes. But now I'm very happy with it, and I feel like because I didn't really wanted to do that before, but now now it's almost natural for me to do it, and I'm happy to improve also. Even being in
mm,
Japan, I improve a lot in my process, in my creativity, I guess. So yeah,
mm.
yeah, to answer your question, I think yeah, I can do accessories also.
Yes, yes, sis, that's what's up. I was thinking about, when you talk about your creative process, um, younger you, when you were at school, you had a book where you did your drawings, but now, are you someone who likes to use your iPad, for example, to design, or do you still do it by hand in a notebook, in a sketchbook?
I for now, I mean, I had to learn how to use an iPad to do my
Mm,
sketches. Why? I need to be more professional. I mean, for example, when I have customers asking for a special type of design, I had to provide a sketch to show the result that they can get with what I will do. I mean, to show an
mm,
idea, a close idea of what they will get. But yeah, so I had to learn how to do it
mm,
on an iPad. And yeah, it's because I have to show the colors, and sometimes I have to take a picture of the fabric I will use. So I have to. It's easier to work on it with on a tablet.
mm.
But to be honest, it's easier for me to. I feel like drawing by hand is more natural to me and more.
Mm.
I feel there's a more deeper connection. But I don't know. I feel like
Oh,
it goes with the flow compared to the iPad. It's different feeling.
you talked about fabric, and I was wondering, what are some of your favorite fabrics to work with, or materials that you like to work with?
I started like this to use this kind of fabric. I think in English it's called Dobby cotton. Dobby
Mm,
cotton. It's like an imitation of the bar cloth, natural bar cloth.
mm,
Anyway, I like the it's a cotton fabric and really textured. So and the prints are usually like Polynesian prints, like
yeah,
tapa fabric, and
right,
that's
right.
what that's what I really like to use. It's for me, I like to use this because I was not really a floral person before. So I started with this kind of patterns, and also because it was really, at the time I learned sewing, in Tahiti at least, it was not popular to use this kind of fabrics for making garments. It was popular only for on the costume side. At the time I learned sewing, I wanted to bring a different vision in Tahiti. Uh, I didn't want it to make something that people already
Mm,
doing. So yeah, I wanted to bring my own vision and to be different. And actually, it's always in my process. I always try to be different from what we do in Tahiti. At least I try to bring a new vision, new interpretation, mixing fabrics, or yeah.
mm. Yeah, when you're making, like, if a customer has an idea for uh, a dress, like, do your customers usually say, I want it to look like this? Or do they also allow you to put some of your own flavor and uh, unique style
Omakase.
into it?
Mm, I back back then when I was still new
Mm,
in fashion, of course, people ask me what they want. They show me a picture. I want something like
mm,
this. Can you do this? And so I didn't build my image yet. I mean, build my own vision. But now, I think today, whenever someone asks me a dress, usually they say, you decide. I
Oh,
mean, they give me the free, how to say,
the freedom to create, right? Freedom
yeah,
to create.
they give me the freedom to create because, and I'm really honored with that
Mm,
because it proves they have trust in me
mm,
and they want me to maybe to outbring the best in them and to give my vision of the beauty
mm,
on their body. So I'm really, it's really heartwarming for me. I'm happy to do my best for them.
So I just want to add to that. So my question is, your designs are very unique. It's custom made. Like you said, you have a vision and you want to create the most beautiful piece you can for your customers. So how do you tell the story of the outfit? For example, is it through the sewing? Is it through the fabric, the types of patterns? Like, what is your story? Because your designs tell a story. Every vision that you have, you must be trying to tell a message or a story.
When I create a dress for someone, mm, I think I get really inspired with first with the I have to start the process with the body first. I have to
Mm,
see how is the person body is, and my goal is always to try to make the person look better. I mean, at least in my opinion, I don't know if she agreed with my vision. Sometimes maybe it's not same. I mean, we don't share the
mm.
same vision, but yeah, I how to say I try to make the person look taller
Ah.
and more elegant. I because I have a vision of beauty, of course.
Mm,
So I mean, each one have their own vision of beauty, and I think the why people. I mean, I'm trying to understand why someone would give me the freedom to create for them. It's just because maybe they saw what I've been doing before,
mm,
and they they are like, oh, maybe she can also turn me into something like this. So, but usually yeah, for my, I mean, I think I mean, now, today, I can say that I have a type of signature in
oh,
my
what's your
work.
signature?
Yeah, my signature is just, as I told you, I like to work with Polynesian patterns like
Mm,
the tapa fabric. I mean, it's almost same as what we can find in Fiji or Samoa, the type of traditional
like the
patterns.
bark material, right?
Yeah,
Bark.
the back
Yeah.
material. But of course, I use the fabric ones, the W cotton
Mm,
ones. But it's like an imitation, and I like
mm,
the texture of this fabric, and usually the colors also. Usually it's really warm and natural looking.
mm,
I like the fact that it looks like wood. I like the wooden texture and the wood, and also the prince itself is a little masculine, and I really like the fact that we use masculine prints. Of course, there's no gender to
right.
patterns, but it looks more masculine type. But
Mm,
I like to use this type of fabric and patterns, and to cut it in a more feminine shape.
mm,
And I like to mix this kind of fabric with plain one, so I can just I can create shapes more easily.
mm.
Or anyway, I don't know, but it's just natural for me to do like this. So growing up, I always kind of been. I mean, my personality has always been like opposite extreme. So it's either I mean, I'm always. I've. I mean, even in my own journey as a person, I was always shared between my masculinity and femininity.
Mm,
Sorry.
mm,
So yeah, I think growing up, it was all mixed up in my creativity also. I mean, in my yeah, in my creativity. So I think it's all
mm.
mixed up my personality and my work today. sometimes I feel really emotional. For example,
Mm,
when I see some of my old friends and people I didn't see for a long time, and when we meet, they're always like, "Oh my God, I remember you drawing when we were in class," and it's really emotional to because when they talk to you about that, it reminds you where you come from, and it's
mm,
always emotional.
mm. Okay, so whenever I have guests who are creatives, designers, or musicians, for example, I always like to ask them, what else do you like to do? Because I'm pretty sure, Tuatini, you do not spend 24 hours of the day creating and drawing. So what do you like to do? Yeah, what are some other like hobbies or things that you like to do? Like some people say, hey, I just like to sleep and catch up on rest. But what about you, sis?
Besides my work, I also sometimes when I'm not too overwhelmed by work, I also take Tahitian dance class with our school. I mean, when I came to Japan, I the first time I came for a Tahitian group who has a school in Japan. I came with them first. But then after, because I really liked my experience in Japan, so I found my way to stay here and work on my own. Which I mean, to I found myself someone to work with, so I could create my own brand here and work with
Mm,
someone else instead of just working for the Tahitian school I came with. So these Tahitian schools, sometimes I take classes with them because I really enjoy dancing simply, and
mm,
I like to embrace my femininity, dancing Tahitian dance, and
mm,
yeah, that's all. It brings me joy and friends.
You know, Tahitian dancing in Japan, it's quite popular, right? Like Hawaiian dancing, Tahitian
Yeah,
dancing. There are a lot of like, yeah, a lot of interest in that,
exactly. And
right?
I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked myself when I first came in Japan. I was like, eh, who is dancing Tahitian dance in Japan? But
Right.
when I mean, because I didn't, and also because before I came to Japan first, I never had interest in Japan before, so I didn't know, I didn't knew much about what is Japan and
Mm,
how is the Tahitian I mean, how is the Tahitian culture presence in Japan like? So I didn't know anything about that.
mm,
And so yeah, when I came here first, I was so shocked to see it's pretty popular here.
mm. Oh, do you do other?
And
Do you do?
I'm so
Sorry, sis, go ahead.
and uh, and I am so amazed to see because I know many people today, and I'm always amazed to see the love and respect the Japanese people give to the Tahitian dance because it's not like going to jazz class or I think being part of Tahitian dance school is also being part of sort of family or it's a very different approach, at least in the Tahitian dance school I'm dancing with. Yeah, it's very
Mm,
family like or yeah, it's very nice to see that we can even bring the warmth
mm,
from Tahiti into our school here. I mean, I say our
mm,
school because I'm part of the school.
mm. What do you miss about Tahiti? About home? What do you miss? Like,
I know I should say family and friends first, but
I'm not. No pressure.
but honestly, the thing I miss the most is the food. I missed our taste in Tahiti, the food, and also the parties. I miss I miss the atmosphere of
Mm,
party in Tahiti, like the island vibes. I really missed it.
yeah. Island vibes. Okay. I like that. Do you speak how many languages do you speak?
So my native language is French,
Mm,
obviously, and I speak English and
mm,
a little Tahitian, very
mm,
little, and even little Japanese,
mm. Yeah, I
but
know
very,
you were.
very, very little Japanese. Huh?
Eh? I know you were nervous about coming on the show, and you said to me, "Oh, because English is not my first language," and I panicked and I thought, "Oh, do I need to learn some French? I don't know." Like, do I have to learn some French so I can speak to Tuatini? I don't even know how to speak French, um, but you have been doing a fantastic job. So I was thinking you were talking, and I'm like,
Oh.
man, why was she so worried for? Like, she's doing a
Eh,
fantastic job. Oi, honestly.
I'm relieved to hear that. I'm really
Eh,
relieved to hear that.
eh. So, Japan, as a fashion designer, are there any other countries that you would like to maybe visit and study their fashion, or even sell your homeland, your fashion from your homeland? Are there other countries that you would like to go to do that, or just to travel to?
I think yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time now, and I really love my life in Japan, but I wanna experience life in another country
Mm,
too. But for example, I wanna go to France or I mean to European country, but it's not so easy because for what I'm doing for my work, I have to find places where they need
mm,
me. At least for Japan, I know that I could find a way to live here, to have work here. But for other countries, I'm not really. I don't know the possibility of me find work or.
mm,
But I mean, except the traveling part, I think I wanna go home
mm,
anyway in the
mm,
future
mm,
because I want to. Because when I started sewing, I started sewing in 2017, and I left 2 years in Tahiti. So
mm,
I mean, from when I started sewing, and from leaving to Japan, I only had 2 years. So I think I didn't have the time to really leave a mark in Tahiti of
mm,
myself, and so that's why I think anyway in the future I wanna go back to Tahiti and really set something up. And yeah, because my biggest pride will be to see my designs on Tahitian people mostly, and
mm.
to see them wearing my clothing. Yeah, that's my not final goal, but like later goal. For now, I'm not done with countries.
You're like, give me some more time. I'm not done yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's so, when I listen to you talk about that, going back to your homeland, going back to Tahiti and putting your mark there, like where the dreaming
Mm.
started, where the drawing in school started, like that's such an important part of where you are today, right? And I love that you have not forgotten, and that you do want to go back and say, hey, guess what? I sew now. Hey, here are some check out my designs. Like, I feel like, yes, sis, do that. And like, do you want to, like, maybe in the future, like, um see your designs on your people, but then would you open a shop? Like, is that a dream? Like, or selling designs from Tahiti to over to other Pacific islands? Like, what kinds of things do you dream about other than putting your mark back on the homeland? Like, what?
So honestly, I didn't really thought much about this, but yeah, because my vision is kind of restricted. I
Mm,
don't want to. I don't have a very long-term
mm,
vision on what I'm doing because I have a perception of life a little different, I guess. Maybe it's not the good way, but it's my way anyway.
mm,
So for me, I really consider life like an adventure. Like for example, me being in Japan, and for me, it's experiencing life. I I just want to do my best, and I'm just doing my best of in what I'm doing, my work. And now I told you I want to go back to Tahiti someday, but it's just a plan. I just want to go home and
mm,
do my best also, and I just want to see if opportunities shows up. And yeah, but I don't have a very long-term vision
mm,
on that. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and for now, I don't feel like I need more. I mean, if I
mm,
went back to Tahiti, I think I would be happy to just be in Tahiti and see my see my designs on my people. And
mm,
yeah, I think that for now it's just enough for me. Of
mm,
course, we, I mean, deep inside of us, we always, I mean, I think so that people, we always dream big anyway, but
mm,
sometimes um, dream big puts a lot of pressure also, and I don't want pressure. So
mm,
yeah, I'm just going with the flow and just doing my best is I really admire people who have long-term vision
mm,
and big plans. I really admire them
mm,
because I'm like, oh my God, I cannot put so much. I mean, I'm so
mm.
restricted. I mean, that's how I feel, but also I think that's just me being
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I really admire people. I really admire people with long-term vision and plan. It's so, I mean, there's good in everyone, right?
Absolutely. And like you said, this is like it's what's good for you is as long as you're happy and it's that's what you're working on. Those are your little like steps and goals that you're working towards. That's all that matters because everyone has goals and different dreams, and how we get there is always a different path. We don't have the same journey, even though we met here in Japan, but it's cool. Like I love that you're confidently saying, "Hey, but this is me, and that's okay." I love that.
Because I think what's made me like this is because I am more of an artist than a businesswoman.
Nah, that's yes, of course you are.
So
Yes,
yeah, so I go more with emotions
nah.
and sensibility than business. Yeah.
Mm. So I want to talk about self care. So I'll always ask the guests that come on the show, hey, how do you look after your health and your well being? Because creative people like yourself, sometimes you just work, 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 and you forget, oops, I need to slow down. I need to have some rest. So, how does Tuatini take care of her health and well being?
I think well, I whenever but no, honestly, I like to how do I take care of myself? But Tahitian dance, I also, yeah, I think Tahitian dance really helped me to just relieve
Mm,
pressure and yeah, and also I like to just hang out with my friends and obviously it's not really healthy to go out to bars, but yeah, it helped my mental health.
of
Yeah.
course, of course. You have to, right?
Yeah, yeah, I had to go sometime. I mean, not always, because in 4 years, I haven't been that much to clubs, for example. But yeah, I just like to go have a drink,
Mm,
have yeah, go dance sometimes, and it feels good.
Meet people and, hang out and stuff, yeah?
Yeah, meet a lot of people.
Kawaiso, kawaiso. Okay, well, I'm glad that you have time to do that, because I know you're very hardworking and sometimes creative
So,
people,
so, sometimes it really gets
Mm,
busy. I don't have the energy to
mm,
go have fun or whatever. So yes, sometimes it can be really busy, but whenever I'm done with the busiest time in my life, I really try to just get some rest, lot of rest, and
mm,
because it's really consuming. I mean, my mind, it's really mind consuming what I'm doing. At least for me, it's not easy
mm,
when I have so much work to do, because I have to think about creativities. So that means drawing new designs.
mm,
And also I have to think about, oh my God, we have to buy this material. I have to get zipper. I have to buy this. I have to buy flowers. But this is the first step. And after that, I have to think, oh my God, how to create this? Because
mm,
usually it's always new designs. You always create something new. So you never know how you can get from the sketch to the result. So you have to think about all of this. It's always a new project, and you have to
mm.
think how to create this. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
You know,
time consuming.
yeah. You know how you're talking about the time part of it. What's the shortest time that it will take you to create like a custom made dress, or it just depends on how you're feeling, like the inspiration and the
Just
mood?
I think in my creation process, I think the
Mm,
most taking time part is the part when I have to draw the design, because
mm,
the problem with my I mean it's the problem with my work is the creativity is not coming like when you need it, you know? I mean,
yeah.
the inspiration, and I think that's one of the most difficult part in my work is to answer to deadline, to answer to a
Mm,
timetable whenever I need to. For example, if I need to send a sketch to a customer like on Friday, sometimes it's really hard because if you don't feel inspired
mm,
or sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. But and also it's easy to draw a dress or whatever, but the hardest part is to be satisfied with
mm,
what you did. But after the creation process, I mean the designing part, the drawing part,
mm.
I think the making part is less time consuming,
Oh.
because you already have the big lines of what you're gonna do.
Mm,
And I think with experience, I mean with all these years of sewing, you have some automatism. You already know how to do something, and you just have to adjust to the new design. So yeah, I think the most time consuming for me is the time consuming and energy to mental
mm. Yeah.
mental consuming is really the designing part. But whenever I don't, for example, and that by the way it's the part of my work that I really enjoy the most, is when I'm just designing something for free. I feel like, I mean, when I decide to do something, I think that's when I'm the most creative and the most satisfied, is when I don't answer to an order.
Mm,
For example, if I do something for me or for a friend, I do it like when I want to do it, when I feel inspired. I think it's always the best part of my work personally. But yeah, for of course for my customers, I have to do my best all the time. Even if I'm not inspired, I have to I have to yeah, I have to find the good middle I mean, to find, even if
Mm,
I'm not feeling very inspired or satisfied, I always try to do the best I can.
mm. So, how would you describe uh, Tahitian fashion? I guess two parts. When you were growing up, what was Tahitian fashion like? But now, as an adult, has it has it changed much? Is it different? Same?
I think when growing up, I always saw Tahitian fashion as colorful, something very lightweighted, I mean. And
Mm,
also, I could describe Tahitian fashion as kind of welcoming. Like, you feel like when you saw someone with a Tahitian dress, it feels like very warm and very welcoming. It's very hello. It's
mm,
very appealing, attractive.
mm.
It's
Like
really,
bright,
I mean, it
bright.
attracts good vibes, island
Mm,
vibes. Yeah, it's very bright and friendly.
mm,
So yeah, that's how I would describe the Tahitian fashion, like welcoming, bright, and friendly. I
mm,
guess colorful.
mm. And has that
And
changed?
I don't think today that the Tahitian fashion has changed that much because it's the same identity and the same kind of vibes. Yeah, I wouldn't say it changed that much. About my own vision on my designs, what I like to do is very is I mean it's how is it different from the what we can have what we can find in Tahiti? I would say that my dresses are more covered compared to what we can find in Tahiti. My design have more of a conservative kind of style.
Mm,
It's I feel really inspired by the like almost religious type of style, like very covered and high neck and I mean Mao collar. I really like the very covered dress
mm,
and long sleeve, long dress. It really inspired me. I like the kind of respectable
mm.
person, respectable woman vibe it gives. So, compared to what we can find in Tahiti, it's very open, very
Revealing,
no
like,
pressure,
mm,
very beach. Yeah, very revealing and very beach vibes or yeah,
mm,
very cocktail dress.
right.
But compared to what I really like to do is very conservative and very covered. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that
I don't
because,
know.
no, thank you for explaining that because I had actually seen that in your designs and I thought this is so different. I had just forgotten to ask, but thank you for explaining that. Yeah, it's just such a different, uh, yeah, just a, I don't know, like, I definitely noticed that, like, having seen pictures of what you've created. And I was just like so curious about that. So thank you for sharing. Um, mm, yeah.
Because it's
As
really it's really important part of my creation. I mean, it's almost here, so I cannot
mm,
avoid. I like the religious vibes, even if I'm not
mm,
Christian.
mm,
I know it's weird, but I guess I'm kind of maybe influenced also by what I could see before because I I used to see all these women going to the church and
mm,
maybe it's inspired me and yeah.
mm. I mean, I think if that's the point of difference in terms of the custom made designs that you make, why not? Do you know what I mean? If that's what you're
Mm.
creating and you are proud of it and that is your branding and represents, I guess, your values and things that you have learned on this journey, I think why not? I think it's absolutely awesome. Absolutely. Yeah,
I think
it's
what I really like what I really think to prove people they're wrong. What I mean
Mm,
is, usually people can come and they have their vision, and I want to tell them. I mean, I want to try to tell them, and that's what really satisfied me. Is I like to tell someone, "Oh, I think we can go with. I mean, we can represent what you want in a different way. We
mm,
don't we don't always need to be sexy we don't need to show much.
mm.
We can be sexy in a
Yeah.
different way, more elegant, more
Yes, I love that.
that's what I try to say.
Okay, yes.
Of course, I'm not against very open dresses or
Mm,
whatever. On the opposite, I really like it also, but
mm.
I like to show a different approach, and because
Yes.
it's really important for me to always try to be different. It's
Mm,
really more. I mean, at least when I create dresses compared to the costume part, when I'm in Tahitian
mm,
dance costume, it's different. I
mm,
try to be traditional. I mean, I try to stay into the what. I'm not much innovative in costumes because I want to stay more traditional or more look alike
mm.
compared to when I create dresses. For dresses, I like to be very different.
Yeah. But I think that's what makes your creations unique. And you know how you're saying that is why people come back to you, like customers come back to you, because like you said before, the trust is there. You've built a relationship, a working relationship, but just the trust to know that they can leave it in your hands and you shall create what will look best on them. But also that point of difference is, yeah, beauty can look many shapes and can be, it can be, the message of beauty can be shown in so many different ways. And even like you were saying, like with the neck, like when you talked about like the neckline, and I thought about like Victorian times, right? Real
Yeah, I
traditional.
really like.
And then I thought, yeah, you know what? That's just portraying beauty uh through a different lens, a different perspective. And I love that you are not afraid to show that. And that is why people trust and come back to you, right? There's no design that looks the same. Like it's awesome. Like yay, sis. I love, we love to see it, and we absolutely love to hear it. So inspirational. Love it.
Thank you.
So, we're at the part of the show where I have to say a huge thank you. I will give you an opportunity to close off our show and to share some final words. But Tuatini, I just want to say thank you so much for making time for the podcast. I'm so happy that we finally, our schedules aligned and we were able to do this. Like like I told you when you first came online, like this is a story that we've never had on the podcast, and more so coming from a Pacific Island woman, strong Pacific Island woman, fearless out there, creating and doing what she loves. Like, I wanted people to hear your story, but also your love for your homeland. Like, I've never had someone from French Polynesia, let alone Tahiti, on the show. So that is an important voice that needs to be heard. And I'm so grateful that it was you, that you could be here today. Um, yeah, it's just so funny how we meet people here in Japan. Like, you know,
Right?
it's just so, we meet Pacific Islanders in places that you just like, you meet them and you click right. You're like, oh, and so just having you here today, it's been such an honor. Thank you for trusting the podcast and coming on here. I know you were super nervous, um, but you did a great job, sis. And I really just, I want to wish you, uh, it's 2024. As we head on, into the middle of the year and to the end of the year, I just want to wish you all the best, with your plans, and just encourage you to just keep striving to be the best you. Keep doing you, sis, like you've said, like you've shared your story today. Keep be you, because there is no one better than you. Like, you go out there and you, like you say, you want to prove that it can be done Tuatini's way. And you know what? That's cool. We are here for it. We love to see it on the Reads with Rosa podcast. So much love coming out to you, sis. I want to give you an opportunity just to share some final encouragement. And then go ahead.
So first, before saying goodbye, I would like to thank you for having me on your podcast today. I'm really happy and really grateful for having the opportunity to talk about my life, and mostly thank you for making me feel less nervous and for making me feel safe sharing my story with you. And yeah, so if I have to say some words to say goodbye, is I would like to thank those listening to us, and thank you for staying until the end and listen to my story. And yeah, if I hope it can somehow inspire anyone, as I was saying before, like, I think listening to other people's stories can be really inspiring for each individual. So I hope it can bring you something to, I mean, it can bring you motivation or whatever it can bring. I hope it brings you positive. And yeah, I just wish good to everyone. Thank you. Marurua.